everything in my life was just like, I just saw everything, and it was like someone was showing me a bird's eye view of my life, and it was like, look how small you are, and you think that you can criticize me, right? Like, it was like Job, like, I'm so much bigger than you, and this whole time when you thought like you were going your own path, or this whole time when you thought, you know, I wasn't with you, like, I think God was showing me like I was with you the whole time, and I'm still gonna be with you.
Guest, he is I just want to say he's someone that I truly sense that not only a creative, I would say creative engineer. Yeah, I think as we put out content, there's certain artists or directors or writers or dancers per se I never thought I could encounter, but next thing I know, I found myself having honest but yet fruitful conversations of. And we are going to have a director and a writer of a short film, and we're going to introduce you to nonetheless David Chung. Welcome to the podcast, bro. Thank you for accepting this.
No, of course. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. You know, I can go on and on about how glad I am to be on this podcast, but I honestly owe it all to you. And yeah, thanks for reaching out. And yeah, I don't know how you want me to start.
No. So, bro, honestly, like, it's super chill.
Okay.
You know, so like you don't have to feel like, oh god, robotic and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you know, I think it'd be cool just to talk about this is that what made me want to watch more of your content, and we get more into the details about your short film. But when I was, you know, scrolling through your IG, and I was like, oh, okay, a Korean Baptist church. Let me see more about the behind the scenes and the short film about it. And I'm gonna be honest, when I was watching your whole film, first of all, the aesthetics crazy, dog. The color grading was crazy.
Appreciate you.
I was like, even the shots was crazy. I was like, why does this remind me of the short film The Farewell? Even like, yeah, you know The Farewell?
Yeah, no, that was a reference for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, so I'm really glad to hear that.
No,
actually.
because
wow.
like even like there's a scene of like the dad was walking, I don't know, like walking in like at this dining or area or yeah. I was like, it like that shot, I don't know, it just, even the music reminds me of The Farewell right away. And I was like, this boy did he like copy and paste like the whole like thing going on? But my first question I want to ask is, when you were creating this film, like what made you to even decide to, I guess, ask the public for help?
Oh, yeah. The crowdfunding.
Yeah, the crowdfunding. Like, was it difficult for you to ask for help, or was it like a simply like, let's do it?
Yeah. I think to answer that question, I have to kind of go back to like why I started writing that script in the first place.
Yeah.
Because for those of you who don't know, it's a short film. Meet Me at the Cross is a short film about like a pastor's kid that has to decide between like following his pastor father or following like his girlfriend who he wants to like run away with, right? And so that's kind of the basic premise. But the reason why I crowdfunded like when we started was kind of it started off with, bro, it's really expensive to make a film. And
no, for real,
I learned that firsthand because I was helping like student short films as a grip, which is like you set up a light, you know, and the grip is the one who moves the light. And I'm kind of in charge of like overall safety and making sure stands are like set up properly and things like that. But I worked as a grip on a lot of Chapman sets, and immediately I could tell the scale is too huge for something that I could do on my own. You know, you gotta rent like thousands of dollars in equipment. You gotta rent a really nice camera that costs another $1,000, like probably thousands of dollars to rent, right?
Yeah.
And then locations, organizing lunch for everybody. You know, like even a small set would have like 20 people, and so I knew my parents weren't able to like provide everything for me, and I knew I couldn't raise enough money on my own. So my producer Remy Wood, he who's great, by the way, he told me the option of crowdfunding, and we explored like 3 different types of crowdfunding, because there are different like platforms. So there's GoFundMe, there's Indiegogo, and there's Seed and Spark, and there's a lot more. But
and
those
you
are
did
like the
GoFundMe,
main.
right?
Yeah, and we did GoFundMe because ultimately they took the least amount and they were the most accessible. So yeah, and we raised like, our goal was 10,000, and we raised I think like 5,000, around 5,000. And you know, even though it wasn't my goal, that was enough to get us like kickstarted.
Right.
But it is a like fully independent film. It wasn't backed up by any, like, it wasn't sponsored by any like camera like brand or like by any church. It was just like everyone who knew me, I kept asking them like,
yo, give me $1, bro.
Yeah,
like, can you hook
like
a brother up? Like, your bro is broke.
Right. And it's kind of similar to, it's funny because it's kind of similar to how like Christians ask for like missions funding, you know?
It's
like yeah, I'd be like hitting up people that I never talked to in a long time, be like, hey, I'm working on this thing, you know, it really means a lot to me. Do you think you could help me out with the finances? And a lot of people were gracious enough to like help me out with that, actually. And so yeah, I was really humbled because there was a lot more help than I thought. You know, I always thought like, oh, this is a little project that I'm doing. Like, why would anyone donate to that? You know, it's their hard work, hard earned money.
Yeah.
Why would they give it to me?
Yeah.
But a lot of people seem to like just enjoy the fact that they could help in any way that they can, you know, to achieve someone's dream. And so yeah, it kind of like helped my faith in humanity a little bit, being like, oh, people care about others, you know, and even though it's like a small dream of mine, like people still supported that. So yeah, that's why we decided to crowdfund. And you know, for anyone who's looking into that, there's a lot more support than you would think. As long as you show people that you're passionate about it and that you're willing to put in the work, then I think people will it'll open people's hearts, honestly, to donate. Yeah.
You know, like before we get into deeper about your film, Meet Me at the Cross, first of all, great title. Great title.
Thank you.
But I want to learn more about your childhood, bro. About not only growing up as a PK kid, but just meeting God. I think, like, from my perspective, right? My mom is Buddhist, and we talked about this over the phone call.
Yeah.
And for me, you know, I don't want to say I met God 2018, but I started going to church at 2018. You know, a sister of mine invited me, and now like she's engaged to one of my closest friends. And then I think I would say about a year and a half, that's when I started meeting God more intimately. I think I've learned this. I know this for a conclusion. I'm not God. I'm not his equal. And he sees me and he loves me. And that's why he sent his son for me. And, you know, the past few days I asked, like, even questions like, why would a loving father send his son to die?
Right.
You know, like, even go to that depth, right? And I'm like, think about like what does sin even mean?
Dang.
Yeah, what does purity even mean? Because I was talking to my team earlier that, like, just Asian cultures, we know how to hide bad things under the cover.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Real though, yeah.
And we have a deep desire just to look good in front of the people that we encounter at churches or just people in general.
Yeah.
And and recently, you know, like today actually, I was just like walking with my dog, and I just grabbed like a picnic table. I mean, picnic blanket.
Yeah.
And just laying in the trees and whatnot. Dude, I sound like I'm describing like a Korean drama and whatnot. It's like me and Happy Korean version. Instead, there's like the copyright version of me and Marley or something. But I was just sitting. I was laying down, and I was listening to the song "Lean on Me." I think. Like,
Lean on me.
Yeah, I think it was.
I'll be your friend.
Yeah. No, not that. That was a good song. What's it called? It was like, man, I gotta see it. Give me a sec, dog.
You're good.
I gotta. That's my Christian hip hop song.
Oh, it's a Christian song.
Yeah, it's Lean Back.
Lean back.
It's like lean back in your loving arms. Like it's a beautiful father. Like that, right? And I just started weeping, like at the park. And the reason why I wept is because, like even though my body's aching and I'm tired from work, I know for sure when I come back to you, whether it's out of repentance or tiredness, I know I'm embraced by the loving Father. Dang. And I was raised with my mom, and my parents split up, like divorced when I was young. And I was watching your film, and and I started like connecting your film, but also I started thinking more about you. Because like usually how it works is that when you're directing or writing film, it usually has some sort of intimate connection about it. Definitely. About like your childhood or something. So I'm just curious, is that like how is your relationship with your father like, and how do you see that reflecting with your relationship with God as a loving Father, as a perfect Father?
Dang.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I love that question.
That's like a two-parter, yeah.
Dude, I might take like the whole podcast.
No, you're good, bro. You're good.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of starts with, man, dude, okay. So we start, oh, man.
My bad, bro.
No, you're good.
I'm just so interested about it.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, the film, there is a lot of me in the film, and I think I can't help but do that. You know, every artist is going to put themselves into the film.
Yeah.
But where that film started, like why I started writing it, is because I was really angry at the time of the way I grew up and my upbringing. And so it's kind of funny because I was at that moment where I was like writing that script. I was living with my friends in LA. My parents live in like Redlands. It's super east. Okay. Super east.
Yeah.
But I kind of told them, I don't want to live with you guys anymore. I don't want to go to church anymore. You know, I moved out with an ex at the time.
Yeah.
And just spent all my time with her. Didn't want to see my family at all.
Right.
Yeah, it's a long story, but I ended up also moving out to my friends in LA. So I was living in Westwood for a long time.
Oh, I saw that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I saw. It was like one of your YouTube videos or something.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I did share that. But I was living in Westwood.
That you're like going that deep, bro. No. Like, why?
No, you're good. But so yeah, I mean, I was living in Westwood, and it was funny because our room was so small. I didn't have room for my desk, so I had to set up my desk in our walk-in closet. And so like late at night while my roommate is getting sleep for his early class, I close the door to the walk-in closet and I'm just writing inside the walk-in closet. And I'm just examining my life, you know, like, man, like I'm a PK, you know, why am I angry? And I had this character, Jacob, you know, and his girlfriend, Rachel, and they were just yelling at each other because they're both mad. And I thought it was a good script at the time, but looking back, I realized it was a manifestation of like all my anger that I had within me for the way I was brought up and all the things I saw in my parents that I was angry about. And yeah, back to what you're saying about Asian cultures and showing like hiding the bad things, right, from the public or from people on the outside. I was really angry at my parents for, you know, going to church, acting like they were super perfect, telling people that they should forgive, and then go home and start arguing with each other or start, you know, like chastising us. And like, disciplining us in the way that Asian parents do, if you know what I mean. Right.
Trauma. Love you, son.
Right. But I love my parents. I mean, I had my whole arc with that. But if we're going to talk about this story, I mean, I was angry about that, you know, and I thought I judged God based on the actions of my parents. I thought my dad, he's on the pulpit, he's talking about forgiveness, but he's going home and, you know, he's not exemplifying that. So God must be fake. God is not real. You know, that's what I thought. And then I met a lot of people at church that had way worse lives than I did. You know, they had missing fathers. They had parents dealing with cancer. And it was like, how can I tell them that God exists when they're dealing with way more things than I am, you know? And so I struggle with this question of like, is God real? And if God is not real, then my upbringing, it all crumbles, you know? And I was angry about that at the time. I was like, man, like I can't escape this identity that I had as a PK. And so that's why I wrote the script. That's why in the film, you know, Jacob is just angry the whole time. And he ends up running away at the end, right? And so, I mean, it's deeply personal. But to answer your question about how do I see God, like God's relationship reflected in my parents, specifically my dad.
Just that sigh has like 10 years of history.
Right. No, but yeah, I mean, I was really angry at my dad ever since I was in like high school, I guess, like freshman year of high school. I started to think about like what my dad is actually doing, right? And I say all this because, okay, it starts with my mom, actually, because, okay, so my dad's a pastor, and pastors, unless you have, like, a big church, you don't get a lot of money. Yeah, so that means the mom has to pick up the pace, right? And so my mom was working night shifts. She was working as a waitress in sushi restaurants and things like that. And I remember this one point where I just never saw my mom, ever. You know, because she was always working, she's picking up shifts, things like that. And then she was also doing like community college on the side to become a nurse, and she was doing all this stuff. And my dad is like at home working on his sermon, you know? And I see this as a kid, and my first instinct is, you're in the wrong to my dad, you know? Like, why are you having this luxury of getting to stay at home, going on your laptop and writing, when your wife, the one you're supposed to be nurturing, is, you know, working and earning the money. And so I put a lot of anger onto my dad. And I remember like, one day I just kind of confronted him about that. Like, you know, why are you a pastor? You know, you're not making any money, and you're not even doing like, you're not even being a pastor that's like doing it for the money either. Like, you're not working to like grow your church at all. You're not trying to like, you know, increase tithes or something like that. Like, why aren't you trying to earn money for the family? I was kind of like angry about that. And, you know, my dad, he's a very passionate guy for the Lord, you know? And so he was kind of like trying to explain to me, you know, it's not all about money. You know, I'm working for the kingdom, you know, we're servicing this church of Korean, first generation Koreans. But to me, that was like nonsense. It's like, that doesn't matter. What the heck? Like, you have a family to take care of, you know? So yeah, a lot of my anger was directed toward that, to my dad, and also to God, of like, this is so like, why would you say that a life like this is like glorifying to you? You know, this is so embarrassing as a man, like as a boy. I thought, you know, like this, like being a pastor, that's glorifying to you, you know? And you know, I saw my friends who had like dads who are working and providing for the family, and that, you know, I see my friends like striving to be their dad, but I actively strove not to be my dad, because I was like, I don't want to end up like that. I don't want to be that guy who's depending on his wife to make money for me and things like that. So there was a long, so when I got into college, I told my parents, I'm not going to go to church. I'm going to do my own thing. And just, you know, live the life where I just followed my own like selfish desire, and trying to live in the world, and that made me more angry because now, you know, I was living in this church bubble for like my whole life. I go out to college, and I'm meeting people that are like, oh, you don't know what this is, you know what that is, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's because my dad, you know, he was dumb and he didn't teach me this, and he thought he was foolish enough to think that a life dedicated to God is a good life, and it just put me in this spiral of anger of like, man, I wish I wasn't born a PK, you know, things like that. And this kept going on till it manifested through like bad relationships, bad decisions, making bad friends, and you know, just overall, I can get into details, but I'd rather not. But anyway, there was this one conversation I had. I went back home one day and forgot why we were fighting. I don't know. We just fight. Every time I saw my dad, we would just fight. But he was telling me like, why are you so angry? And oh no, hold on, before that, like every time I fight with my dad, he speaks only Korean, and I don't speak Korean that well. So I only speak English. So how we communicate is through my mom.
There's a language barrier.
Yeah. And so my mom's the one in the middle translating. Okay.
She's the peacekeeper.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like she has to work this like 12-hour shift as a nurse, come back home to like her family being dysfunctional. And then not only that, she had to translate all the hurtful things I was trying to say to my dad.
That must have been very hurtful.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember there was one point like we were just arguing back and forth, and this whole time my mom is the one carrying the ideas over, right? And I said something like, every day I pray to God that I will never end up like you guys. And then my mom turned to
you said that? I
said that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because I was so angry. Yeah, no, dude, I said way worse.
I felt like I would have been whipped if I said that, bro.
Well, the thing is, like, I was also tall, so like, I got taller than my dad, you know.
You can't do anything.
Right. It was kind of, I had that attitude of like, try it, bro, try it, you know. And anyway, and my dad, he's not like that anymore. So he kind of had this arc of, you know, learning how to discipline through his words, and being the example instead of like telling us how to act, right? So he's going through this whole thing of like, I'm gonna be disciplined. I'm not gonna try to beat this kid up, right? he absolutely could have. He's buff. He's like, he's black belt in Taekwondo and all that, and I'm not. So he definitely could have if he wanted to, but he was going through this whole thing of like, okay, I'm gonna need to control my anger too, right? But I didn't have that yet, so I'm just spewing all this hate to my mom and telling her to translate to my dad. So I say that I'm like, I pray every day to God that I'll never become like you guys. And my mom, as she's saying it, she just breaks down and she just starts crying. And I think at that moment it was like, okay, I definitely took it way too far. And I didn't know that, like, I wanted to hurt my dad, but in doing so, I hurt my mom. You know, my mom, I had nothing against my mom. She worked so hard for us.
How did that make you feel? Well,
I felt terrible.
That?
Yeah, and so I told my mom, like, I realized the problem wasn't me and my mom, it was me and my dad. So I was like, okay, Mom, can you leave? Like, we'll just, me and my dad talk. And for the first time, we're having a conversation, just me and him. And I'm saying this through broken Korean.
Yeah.
And I was saying in Korean, I was like, I said, 내가 아빠, 성구 아빠가 저의 아빠였으면 like 더 행복할 것 같아요. And that kind of meant like if my little brother's dad, which, okay, I should have given that context. My little brother came in really late.
Right.
Yeah, he's 10 years younger than me. And my dad kind of went through this whole arc of like learning to control his anger by the time my little brother came out. So my little brother got this version of my dad that's like really happy, you know, really patient. But I got the version of my dad that like wasn't that. So I was trying to tell him in that Korean sentence, I said, I wish my little brother's dad was my dad. And I think that would have made me more happy. And at that moment, he started to cry. And
dude, you trying to make me throw up? Suck it in, man. Yeah, come on.
So he started crying, and he for the first time, like, he hugged me, and he was like, I'm sorry. Like, 창구야 미안해. And like, it was the first time I hugged my dad. I've never seen him cry ever, and we were just sharing that moment, and like, I started crying too, and I was telling him like I'm sorry too. And at that moment, I could feel like my heart melting, and I saw like this picture of me when I was like younger, of like me smiling, and I used to hate that photo because I felt like that wasn't actually me. I didn't think that was a good representation of who I was. But I just remember seeing like that smiling boy and thinking like, that's right, that's who I am, you know? That was actually me. This version of me that I'm trying to create of like, I'm a bad boy, I'm a rebel. That's all because I was hurt. And I just felt all that melt. And I don't know, I felt for the first time like true peace at that moment once I let that hate go. And yeah, I just at that point I still didn't believe in God, but I just felt like everything, all that hate just being released, you know. And I also thought, you know, later on I kind of thought about that moment and how blessed I was to have that with my dad, because not everyone can have that with their father, you know. And I realized I had this like twisted thought that because other people are suffering, I don't have the right to be like to heal, I guess, you know, like I should feel their pain with them. I shouldn't try to fix my life or anything. But at that moment, I think God was trying to show me like, no, like I gave you a good life. Take it and cherish it and be blessed. And so, yeah, for me, that was a big moment where I just kind of, I don't know, like I looked at that moment with my dad and kind of compared it to my relationship with God as like, I can finally learn to love God, you know, and stop having this hate toward him. Why did you do this? Why you do that? And learn how to be like, God, you did this. God, you did that. And I'm going to accept it and still love you, you know? So kind of like how my dad, like he did all that. He doesn't change it. Like that moment, that didn't change everything he did in the past, but I'm going to accept that he did that and that he's still my father. He is a person. He's a sinner. And I have to love him, you know? He's my dad. I love him. It's still hard for me to say that sometimes, but
you know, what's interesting while you were sharing that, I found it so interesting, specifically, which is I've learned that I from many conversations with people who goes to churches and who are included in just specifically Asian churches, anger is such a big thing of their testimony.
Oh yeah,
I've learned, and for me, yeah, I'm like, oh, it's very different. I never, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's like, and this is just on my mind, dog. You know, from that, before the moment that you shared that your father hugged you, right? Did you see your dad as God then? Because like, oh, you're supposed to do that, you're supposed to do that. Like,
right.
You're not being a man of God. You're like, you can't, you know what I mean? It's like, have you seen him as that?
Yeah.
That's why like the anger kind of came out?
For sure. Definitely.
Oh, okay. Because the reason why I asked is because that when I went to China in 2018, it was like my first time seeing my dad. And there was this moment that we were walking around his apartment complex building, and same, you know, Chinglish, you know, broken and all that. But then, I don't know, I just like, and then for some reason, so it was like myself, my dad, and my sister. Basically, my sister said deuces, and she just dipped. I was like, what the heck? and she's older than me. And I was like, God, how am I gonna talk to my dad, bro? Like, and I wasn't tall, so I can't do anything. I'm like, papa. But then I just had this innate, I guess you can say conviction or feeling of just like, hey, like it's okay. You left us. Like, I forgive you. I'm not angry.
Dang.
And like, I've learned I wasn't angry at my dad, but it was more so like did I do something wrong that made my mom and dad divorced? To go even deeper, bro, I want to share this because I think like it'll be important. But like, I remember when I went back first time, specifically Quimming. I remember at a bridge, right, bro? At a bridge, we were sitting in a family van, you know, Toyota, whatnot. We were driving on the bridge, and then a big truck and a car crash, bro. Car crash. And my uncle, my dad's brother, was driving, and then right next to him was my dad's mom, my grandma. She passed away from the accident. And I remember there was like fires, crying, and just a lot was going on. And then it took me a while to accept and understand that I should forgive myself, because it took a couple of years to heal from like victimizing myself.
Damn.
Saying like, oh, that accident because it was me, because it was my first time going to China, so I thought I was the curse. And the reason why I'm sharing this, because I think, you know, as I am getting older and now working with kids, I need to not see my mom or any family members as like their God, you know, because that's unfair, right? But at the same time, is that takes away from us trying to learn and have conversations with them and see them as humans, right?
Right.
And I think when you are raised with, I would say, like, not a lot of like community, because when you were bringing up about your mom like going to do multiple jobs and you're seeing your dad doing sermons, you're like, how come there's not like that close-knit kind of families, right? So like, I just want to encourage you that whatever happened in your past or whatever you're still healing from, just hold on and remember that the first time you met God, He's the same God as yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
That's right.
And knowing that logically is very important, but experiencing that and reminding us that spiritually, emotionally is such an important factor of our faith walk.
Yeah.
And I hope you know that through this film, Meet Me at the Cross, it's not just a reflection of your testimony, but it's a reflection of how God's love, grace, and mercy has changed the inner parts of you. Because we also we have a wicked heart too. Our heart is deceitful sometimes. And I'm not even saying sometimes, all the time, you know. It's That's like right. It's like we need to know that the flesh is only weak when we don't feed what the flesh wants, you know. Flee from sexual mortality, all these things. But it's not just by action, but it's like man, like, God, like, if you have any lust problem, deep down it's because you're afraid what love is. Deep down, you don't want to be loved, because that means there's possible chances of hope, right? And I mean, that's like the guy in with the Bethesda pool, right? He he was like lame and broken, and he was with other people who was like quote unquote like disabled, right?
Yeah.
They were like, oh, when we go to this pool, we're gonna get healed, dog.
Right.
Right? But deep down, it's because they were looking for hope. They were looking for something to fill up like whatever like mistakes they may have done.
Yeah.
And I hope you know that God's grace and God's mercy and God's love touches not only the most inner parts of your wickedness, of your actions or your sins, but he touches that child self and saying, like David, like, I see you, but like, I need you to open up to me. I need you to open up to me. I know it's scary, but I'm your shepherd. Remind you of that. I'm your shepherd. Help me be your shepherd. But there are times he didn't even ask us for help. He's just sometimes, like not even sometimes, all the time he's like, I'm here.
Right.
I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, that's what Meet Me at the Cross is, right? Meet Me at the Cross isn't just saying like this perfectness of like Korean Baptist church, but it's like, let me show you the raw vulnerableness of like, there's flaws, there's mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, let's talk about that. Like, while recording and writing the script of Meet Me at the Cross, what's coming into my mind, I don't know if this is okay to ask, but like, while directing this film, how much faith did you have in this? Yeah, how much faith did you have in this? That like, oh, like God's got this, not me, but God.
Oh wow, dude! If I'm gonna be honest,
yeah,
when I directed that, my relationship with God was not there. Yeah. At that time, like I said, like when I shared that story about my dad, like I didn't believe in God. And this whole time I was kind of going through this, I was wrestling of like, is God real? Is God not? And so when I made this film, it wasn't to really, when I made this film, like my relationship with God was very like superficial. Yeah. I think I just started to believe that, oh God, you know, I just started to accept that like, oh, I'm a PK. I'm always gonna be a PK, things like that. And so I wanted to share my story. But then as I was writing, actually, I came to the realization that this story is about the prodigal son, right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a deep one, man.
For real. And I realized Jacob is just the prodigal son who's trying to run away before he ran away, right? And this is him trying to run away now.
Follow these socials: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. The support really means a lot. Thank you so much. Oh, I just had a thought, bro.
Oh yeah.
Dude, this is literally just came out, bro.
Yeah.
I think Jacob represented the younger brother, right?
Yeah.
And you represent the older brother, actually.
Like me, right?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Before then. Because the reason why, if you think about the older brother, it's like, how come like you accepted me in your loving arms when I've always been here, right?
Oh,
like
right.
That kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And then Jacob was like, throughout that whole film, was trying to run away because of that guilt, that shame, that hurt. And because like that's interesting, that's connecting to like the expectation of your dad is like how come you didn't do this? How come you didn't do that? And then that's like the attitude towards God. Right? When you talk to him, do you have any even expectation when you pray to him? Right? It's like, I thought you got my back. It's like, man, we don't like God doesn't owe us anything.
Yeah, he doesn't.
You know, he doesn't owe us anything. He already did the most like sacrificial love, which is sending his one and begotten son for our sins.
Right.
But sometimes hearing that doesn't make us feel better in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
You
Man,
know?
I didn't read it like that. But at the time when I was writing, I actually saw the older brother as the pastor. That's kind of how I was looking at it, actually.
Oh,
because I was trying to show that.
I see that.
Yeah, like the pastor being this very vindictive, like you have to do things right. You know, if you misstep, then you know you don't deserve mercy, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I was trying to go for that. And that's what I wanted to do in the sequel too, but we'll
Wait,
talk
are
about
you?
that later.
Because no, for real, we're really on part 2. Like Jen, like was like, yo, we need to know where Jacob is going now. We watched it and then we were like, yo, everybody's a sinner up in this church, bro.
Oh man, no, I really want to. It's just there's a lot of factors.
You have our back. You have our support. We want a part 2.
You know what? That's actually really good to know because, yeah, but. Yeah, like I said, like my relationship with God was just really shaky. You know, it wasn't that solid. And I didn't really have that close encounter with God until later that year after we finished editing the film. No, not editing, but after we finished filming the film. Then I went on this like conference, like Christian conference that my sister invited me to. And at that moment, like the last night, it's always the last night, right? But they did an altar call. And I didn't think I had to go up. I was like,
it's always like that, dog.
Like, I was like, bro,
I trust.
I don't need to go. Like, you know, I was born in a church. Like, I don't need to go. But I did see like one of the people in our group. He wanted, like, I kind of saw some hesitation. He wanted to go. Yeah. So I was like, okay, bro, like, let's go together. So we went up. So I initially thought I went up for him. But the moment I get up to the front, I just start bawling. I just start bawling.
You're like,
yeah. Yeah. And I feel like I just feel this huge encounter, and I see it's crazy because like Bryce Crawford, he you know Bryce Crawford, right? Like you've seen his stuff.
Oh, you see the
white boy.
Like, I like how like that's the first interpretation of the
but
scripture.
He's like really
right
young, and he like encounters people.
Oh, is he the one who go to different spots and preach?
Yeah,
the word,
he goes
right,
to like
yeah.
You know, he went to like
Pride
Parade.
He hardcore.
Yeah,
he
no,
hardcore.
For real. Yeah, I mean, I bring him up because I saw his testimony video, and he's talking about
the
this
Waffle
moment.
House.
Yeah, the Waffle House, and he started talking about like, oh, he sees like all the moments of his life like clipped together like it was a movie, and that happened. It's crazy because before I even saw that video, this happened to me.
Yeah,
and it was like everything in my life was just like I just saw everything, and it was like someone was showing me a bird's eye view of my life, and it was like, look how small you are, and you think that you can criticize me, right? Like it was like Job, like I'm so much bigger than you, and this whole time when you thought like you were going your own path, or this whole time when you thought, you know, I wasn't with you, like I think God was showing me like I was with you the whole time, and I'm still gonna be with you. And so that was the moment I felt that encounter with God, and I felt like an overwhelming sense of like just washed, you know, and this past life that I had where I was searching for fulfillment from like weed or sex, it just all washed me. And at that moment I felt like born again. I really did. And it was interesting because I come back to this film, right? I come back to edit this film after that conference, and I have a different outlook at what the story I'm going to tell. And it was no longer a story of like why, like trying to justify my anger. And it became a story of, hey, I was angry, but there is hope at the end, you know? And that's why I ended with like the whole Luke 15:10 verse. I wanted to imply that, you know, Jacob will return, right? And so that project in itself is super personal to me. Like I literally had a spiritual encounter in the midst of like working on it, and in every phase, like from pre-production to production to post-production, my relationship with God changed, and it really blossomed at the end. And that's kind of, so yeah, my relationship with God, if it wasn't for, like, I don't think I depended on God to like help me with the film, if I'm going to be honest. I didn't rely on him. I didn't pray for that, but he still did, you know, and he didn't have to. But that's what I realized at the conference was like, he was taking care of me this whole time, even when I didn't ask him to, even when I thought I wanted to run away from him. And so, yeah, I felt really just loved. And that felt like, for the first time, it felt like agape, like unconditional love. Like, even if I wanted to run away, God's like, nope, you know, like, you're going to come back right here. This is where you're supposed to be, you know? And yeah, he's just been really good to me. You know, God is blessed. Blessed be the name, right? And I bring all that up. I don't know why I brought that up, but
no, you know, it's I feel like I gotta read. Like I was reading like this whole week. Is it quiet read something?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, like First
please share.
Samuel, I think. Sorry, I've just been on a deep dive on First Samuel, dog.
I love it.
Yeah, First Samuel 18, man. Like First Samuel 18, verse 4. I think, yeah, in verse 4, and Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was on him and gave it to David, and his armor, and even his sword, and his bow, and his belt. And David went out and was successful wherever Saul, which is his dad, sent him, so that Saul set him over the men of war. And this was good in the sight of all people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. And I don't know, when I was, like, you were explaining about, well, not explaining, but just describing about your friend, right? And, like, going with him, you know, to the altar call. You were like his Jonathan. You're like,
dang.
You know, it's like, and what's so interesting is that when we encounter Christ, or even feel like, oh, is this it or not? It's like, no, that's the Holy Spirit working on something, you know. And sometimes we feel like, oh, we don't have the right resources to preach the word or whatnot. It's like, you have everything.
Right.
You don't need like 10,000 people to listen to your sermons or have a perfect sermon. You know, I think with that experience with your friend is that, like, I'm gonna walk with you. And I think that that's not only something that we all need as human beings, right? But that's biblical too. It's like, be still and know I'm God. Be still and know I'm God.
That's right.
Know that I'm God. And I want to just like give you your flowers of that. It's like,
oh no,
like, even like even if you didn't know that, like, oh, this is like, oh, there's a moment for the altar call, right? But it's deeper than that. It's like, it's actually two broken people walking together.
That's right.
In the unknown, and you just like, wow, like,
yeah,
like I'm free.
For real.
I'm free.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to describe that feeling. It's so hard, for me at least. And I would like to ask, like, I'm curious about the process of you writing the story between Jacob and his father. Because when you were mentioning about the prodigal son, right? Did you read a lot about the prodigal son, and that kind of conveyed about like the relationship between the dad and the son a lot?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I definitely refer to scripture. Yeah. And I think that was like, again, it was kind of like little steps that was opening my heart up to God. Because at first I was reading scripture out of like analytical, like, oh, well, how does the story go? Right. You know, what was the purpose of the story? And I didn't try to devote it to my life or anything. I was just reading it purely out of like literature, and I'm adapting this into like, you know, like a film. Yeah. But like over time, at that moment,
Dallas Jenkins.
What's up?
Okay, Dallas Jenkins, trying to be like the chosen up in here or something.
No, I wish, dude. Dallas Jenkins, man, I mean, he created a whole cinematic universe for the Bible. I love that. But
it was a crowdfunding project too.
Wow. But yeah, I mean, with that altar call moment, I think I really think that I was using him as an excuse to go up.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, I really want to go up, but I don't want to make it look like I actually needed this. Like, it's a whole thing of like, I was too prideful to admit that I needed that, but I did need that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really thankful to that friend too, that entertained me to go up with me, right?
Yo, he's gonna listen to the episode. He's like, entertain. I don't know if that was the. I don't know. I felt used where you said that.
No, but yeah, I feel like if anything, like I think that was wrong for me to think that like, oh, he needed it. That's why I need to go up with him. But in fact, I needed it more than he did, right? Yeah. Like I really felt like I did. But yeah, I mean, going back to like writing Jacob and his relationship with his father, yeah, I wanted to show like just anger again, but the whole thing was like in the prodigal son, right? When the son like leaves,
right,
and he tells his father like, "I want your inheritance."
Mm-hmm.
That was a moment of like, for him, that was like, "I want you dead," basically,
mm-hmm.
right? I want you to die. I don't care if you live. I just want the money that you're going to leave behind. So give me that now. And for me, it was like, how do I show that on the film? Like no one today really asks for inheritance from their dad, right? Mm-hmm. Like I don't think at least I've never seen that happen. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of why he, spoiler, but he like takes the offering money and things like that. It was kind of like in effect, like the effect of that is like, he's saying, this is not holy money. This is just money. I'm taking that for myself, right? And so I think that was like a really important moment for his character to have at the end. And it's funny because every time I show that film, the moment he opens up the offering basket, everyone's like,
dude, I'm telling you, we all watched. Were before you came, we were watching it. And then, Chen made me laugh though. She was like, I lost hope in him. I lost hope in Jacob. Come on. We need to know. This is not the end for Jacob.
Right. No, yeah. I feel like that everyone knows that's like a line you don't cross, right?
Yeah.
You don't steal offering money.
Yeah.
But for a PK that's lived in a church his whole life, it's like, it's just money. You know, like I'm just going to take it. What's the big deal, guys?
Yeah.
Like, it's not holy. What the heck? What's holy? I'm
Right.
gonna take it.
Right.
I'm gonna run away. And so, yeah, I kind of thought that was a good representation of like how he views his father at that time, right? And like he's very cynical, very like nothing matters, nihilist even. And that's the kind of the reason why the sequel is taking so long.
No, it's okay. I just want to watch it, but take your time.
Okay.
I just need to know what happened between Jacob and Rachel, okay? Sorry, when I see something good, bro, I'm like, so, is he gonna like pay his dad back, or
right?
Like what because I think what's so interesting about like that whole situation between like even the relationship between human and money is such a very interesting topic because like and that connects with like respect and power, right? The more money you get, the more respect you get, and the more money you get, the more hierarchy you have, you know, the more control you have, right? But it's like usually like no, it's the money's controlling you. It's like the love for money, right? And I think what's so interesting about Jacob, I also saw myself in him too, you know. And what's so interesting about the I would say like the hiding of his relation with Rachel is like, how does like church feel about relationships?
For real though.
How does like church have conversations with high school relationship? Right. How do they have conversations about sex? You know, like. And especially Asian churches, it's like, oh, like usually don't talk about it, and then just let it be. You know, it's very it's very taboo, which is very interesting because like we're supposed to talk about these things, right? Yeah. And I don't know, it's like when you were tapping into the relationship between Jacob and Rachel, right? What was like like, was that like an inspiration of like your own personal like romantic relationships in the past, or where does that like come from, bro?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, dude, I was a rascal.
I mean, who is?
Right?
I'm gonna be honest. Everybody had like, that's why testimony
right
is just testimonies.
No, for real though. But yeah, I mean, it kind of is. Yeah, a lot of it is fictionalized, but some of it is kind of real. Like, like finding a secret room. Like that was definitely like a tactic that as a PK. Yeah. Oh, that was funny. I think that scene is so funny.
He's like, oh, I'm cleaning. Right. I'm like, you're cleaning and cleaning.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's so corny because like we also have a shot where like they zoom into the cross and you hear the footsteps.
I was like, dude, like I feel like when I was literally watching that, I was like, bro, he's about to get rebuked or something, bro. He's
right.
like, he's about to get yelled at or something.
Yeah. What's funny about that scene, or just anytime we show the Jacob and Rachel like relationship on camera.
Yeah.
It's really fun to watch the different reactions because the first time I screened it for like the donors and the church members that helped me make it.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, you're good, man.
It was always like, yeah, it's like, no. It's like, oh no,
PG.
Yeah. Like, don't do that. What is he doing? What's going on?
Yeah.
And there's a moment where like Jacob, he says "F you" to the dad.
Yeah.
Right?
Dude, we were like, oh no, he did it! Oh my gosh, he just said that at a church.
Right. No, yeah. And so all the church members, they're like, like they're always like that. And so, but it's funny because I showed it to an open mic in like a bar.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a poetry bar or a poetry open mic that I went to a lot.
Right.
And they gave me the privilege of screening the film. And, these guys, they like smoke indoors. They're the type of crew that does that, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's funny because when I show like the first shot of like them making out at church, woo!
they're like, oh, this is I like this.
Yeah,
this
they're like, let's get it.
Let's get it.
They're like, yeah.
Jacob.
And
dude, I feel like the Christians listening to this, like, I don't know if they're like faith believers. I think they're.
No, I mean in the open mic, they were all like, they make poetry about not being Christian.
Oh, interesting.
Like yeah, and so for me, I saw it as like an evangelistic opportunity,
right?
Because I
you definitely evangelize something.
When I show, no, for real though, because when I show I love showing the film to like non-Christians because they relate to the story a lot more than I thought.
Exactly.
They would come to me after the screening and they're like, hey bro, like I know a lot of people were laughing, but that was me. And and they tell me their story of like how they left the church, why they were dissatisfied with the way the church, operates, and their own story. And it goes into it gave me a lot of insight on like why our generation doesn't really resonate with Christian themes. And it's not, and I realize it's not really because of the Christian themes. It's because of the church itself, right? The way that the church society operates.
Can you explain more about that? I'm curious, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, people are judgmental at the end of the day. And the fact that it's in a church setting, it makes us disillusioned because it's like, wait, this is church. We're supposed to be like, this is supposed to be good people. But why are you judging me? And so I see you judging me, or I see you doing wrong to others. Therefore, this society, this God, the God of this society must not be real. They make that conclusion. And I resonate with that conclusion because that was me, right? And so what I would say to them is kind of like, yeah, this film is about me realizing that I was treating my dad as God, as you were saying, right? And that I ultimately have to separate. My dad is not God. I can't judge God based on the actions of my dad.
And that's difficult to do.
Yeah, it is. But some people come up to me and they're also like, hey, like I get what you're trying to get. I get what you're trying to go on to because I went through that. Like I realized my relationship with God is between me and him. It's not me and my dad and him. It's me and him. And that's been a blessing for sure. Like seeing people like share their stories with me about like their upbringing in church. And you'll be surprised by how many PKs there are, I guess. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I met so many PKs that I did not expect.
You might as well create a whole group chat PKs. Like,
Honestly, yeah.
it's like, yo, let's just like trauma bond, bro.
Right. But it's really like common. And
Right.
like, you know, at the open mic, there's this singer who, he has a song, shout out Jovan Live. He has a song about like, a song called like All About Bread. You know, it's all about like making money. Or it's what you gonna do with all that A word, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, I never thought he would be a minister's kid, but he was, you know? And it's like, dude, like, I didn't know that. And he starts opening up about his past to me. And yeah, that's why I really think, you know, evangelizing isn't about showing like, you know, like as a pure flicks film, no shade, but like that kind of movie, like God's Not Dead, it kind of shows like atheists as like this straw man of a villain. Like, this is someone you're supposed to hate. And a Christian is like, oh, all butterflies and sunshine.
Holy in the villainous.
Yeah, exactly.
Arc,
but I wanted to, I guess, I think Christian media is getting better. But yeah, my point was more like the church, it seems like a lot of people resonate seeing bad people in the church more than they do the other way around, right? So yeah, it's been a blessing to see that. And I'm growing, I'm learning. But yeah, I love showing it to people who aren't part of the church, and they just share all these stories about like why they don't go to church anymore. And it's been really insightful.
You know, like, I think, you know, it's interesting when you were bringing up the topic like judgmental church, ridiculed, all that, right? And then it's like past couple months ago, I've been reading Revelation, like the first few chapters. Like, it's like letters like what John wrote to like the seven different churches of Asia, right? And I don't know, Revelation's a heavy book, bro. It's like because when you read the letters of like John writing to the churches in Asia, what's so interesting is like each letter, I would say from my remembering, is like, oh, I have this against you, I have this against you.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Like literally calling people out, right? Like, but the thing is, what's so interesting is that he needed to use his judgment not to declare war, but he needed to use judgment just to like, hey, like make sure like church is a holy place.
That's right.
You know? But I think what's so interesting about how does this like connect to the judgment of like specifically just Asian cultures in general, which is very interesting because like, oh, 7 churches of Asia, and they talk about our cultures of Asia. It's like, it's like what's on my mind is there in a way to rebuke people, or is there in a way to like, hey, I'm gonna confront you not because I hate you, but like I see something wrong, but help me to learn more about what you're facing through.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, my mom is an immigrant, and I hear many testimonies like from immigrant like kids, first gen, second gen, and one like repetitive like dot I see from immigrant, like child of immigrants sharing their testimony, usually comes from like, especially if someone who grew up in the church, there's like simultaneously not a lot of like biblical knowledge of it, how a church and ministry should operate.
Oh yeah.
But there's also like forgotten like what God's grace and mercy is, right? So it's like we're implementing our own like Chinese or Korean culture, and we're replacing that, you know, and not following the scriptures and truly know what God's nature is. And which is very interesting because we're not supposed to do that, because if we really are believers of God and believers of Jesus, not only we should read the Holy Scriptures, but also make sure that, oh, what I said was wrong. You know, that doesn't represent God's kingdom well. But the thing is with like immigrant parents, we also have to understand they were raised with a different generation of like
Yep.
gentle love, and communication was
Not non-existent.
exactly you know,
Yeah.
not saying like they don't want to, just
Yeah.
it was not part of the norm, I would say. You know, I think that's fair to say.
Totally.
You know, and I think I see that so many implement of that with your film, you know, is that like what does responsibility looks like. You're like, the dad gives the keys to the son to like close the church. I'm like, that's a big responsibility, like,
Oh, right.
you know, like
Right.
there's that kind of factor. It's
For
like, you
sure.
trust your son that much, you know. I'm not saying trust like shouldn't be like given. I'm not saying that. Just like, you know, it takes like a couple of times just to trust
Right.
somebody, right?
Right.
I would say.
I mean, I think that's a very PK thing, though.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you're used to having the keys to the church because
And that's
you
like
know,
a power thing.
it is.
You know.
Well, that's the thing. It's like Jacob realizes that he could use it for his own selfish, like, oh, I have this key. I can unlock any door, and we'd be like in secret now. And so, yeah, it's like Spider-Man. Like, with great power comes great responsibility,
Hey,
right?
great quote. Great quote. Legendary quote.
It is, but yeah, I think it was kind of like you realize, oh, I have this power, I can use it for myself now, and that's Jacob's own thing of like, yeah, like, you know, how he views the church as someone who grew up in it, right? But yeah, man, I wanted to say something about what you said about
you're good.
like Asian cultures and the fact that like our parents' generation didn't really get like the nurture that we feel like we want to have right now.
Or
right?
possibly they did, but just not in a way that we see it as. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And I think it has to do with the fact that like they went through so much more than us.
Oh,
like,
for
in my
real,
opinion.
bro. Yeah,
like,
definitely.
they went through war, you know, like the 70s was like a crazy time for the culture of like any country, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I hear stories of like my grandpa. He tells me that they would they had like in rural Korea, they had the speaker playing like really loud music in the morning so that like no one can sleep in and that everyone would wake up early to like work hard. And crazy. The culture in Korea during that time was like, you got to work hard so that the country can grow and prosper. And, you know, it's like you're not allowed to sleep in for like no one is allowed to sleep in. And, you know, they had the military dictatorships, you know, every man has to go through 2 years or a couple years.
Yeah, 2 years of military. Like,
it's like 2
training,
years
right?
now. It's like 1.5 now. But back then, I heard it was like worse. Like I heard it was like up to 6.
Nah.
Yeah, and I'm like
6 years.
yeah, that's what I heard. Like,
That's crazy.
Right. And
Yo.
so they go through this, like they go through so much, and then they get to us, right? And we're like, you know, how come you didn't tuck me in or something like that?
They'd be
right?
like, no one took me in, huh?
yeah.
So why should I tuck you
yeah,
in?
yeah, exactly. But
You have a blanket for a reason, okay? Good night.
right. I don't want to minimize like our problems because I think our problems are actually like they're very real. But in
It's just funny
comparison,
the different
it feels like that.
Right.
Yeah, the comparison of like, oh, I live in peace. You know, like I want my mom to say that like she loves me. Like how come I've never heard you say I love you? You know.
Yeah.
And it's like these little details to us that mean a lot, but then they're like,
it's different.
yeah, they're like, what?
She's like, love you? She's like, back then, I have no house.
Right, right, yeah. It's an interesting time though. I do think it's getting better though. Like, there's a lot more information out there for like emotional intelligence that I feel like our parents' generation is like starting to learn. And I see a lot of stories of like people like reconciling with their parents and, you know, learning emotional intelligence with their parents, which I love.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that just points back to like how God restores, God heals, right? And when things like this happen, you kind of have to point back to Christ. Like this, I don't want to say that Christ died for my emotional intelligence, no, but without Christ's sacrifice, like I wouldn't be able to like let go of that hate that I had, you know? So yeah. And you know, it's a whole thing of me like realizing that, you know,
I mean,
it's not my own strength, but
yeah. I get that because I think that like the reason why we as humans we hate is because we feel like there was some sort of past hurt or actions that wasn't justified. Right. It's like, you did this, but I'm the one who's dealing the consequences. Right. But I think as you put in the mindset, have a heart like a servant, like how God did, it's like, it's not about you against me, or I hurt more than you, because that's like the victim theology of it, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not about you comparing, like, it's not about I versus you or you versus me. I'm better than you, you're better than me.
Right.
Because that creates the level of competition. God came here, wasn't here for competition, but he came here for truth.
Yeah.
And he was proclaiming truth, and he was dying for truth, but he did it in a way that the Sadducees and the Pharisees didn't think about.
Yeah.
You know, because his love and his grace was more than our limited thinking, right? But even his love helps us to overflow whatever pain we have, so it helps us to be honest with him.
Yeah.
And I think that's the experience you were feeling with the autocar, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And one thing I want to mention, it's so crazy, is because when you were mentioning about like when Jacob was like basically hiding Rachel, right? Like the secret closet. And I'm like thinking, like, oh, Jacob with the keys, that's like connecting to Genesis, right? It's like the tree of knowledge, right? It's like buying the apple. It's like, I have all the power. You can be God, right?
Yeah.
And then there's like the secret closet. It's like, oh, you have a secret closet to meet God, but you know, it's like, oh, to meet like my own selfish, deceitful desires, right?
Yeah.
So there's like that kind of thought I'm like processing, because
that.
like, it's like, it doesn't have to be like obviously like an apple, but it could be a key to success.
Yeah.
You can have all the riches of this earth.
Yeah.
Right. Just like the 40 days when God was getting tempted from Satan, but he combated with him not only with scripture, but also with a level of confidence. Like, no. And at the end, like at the cross, is like, it is finished. It's like, sometimes when we are in a sin, or when Satan's attacking our mind, it's like, I need to remind you of your future. You're dead.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, you have no power against me.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And as we remind ourselves that, but also humble ourselves as low and gentle, it's like, I'm not God, and I'm so thankful I'm not. Because that means a lot of anxiety, a lot of pressure, a lot of future like responsibilities up to me, which is very limited. Right. And I think the last conversations I would like to have is that, what was the process of you creating that, like, I guess, quote unquote, like that Korean ministry or Korean minister through Meet Me at the Cross, like? Because the setting was at a Korean Baptist church. So like, was there like any like I guess past like I don't want to say replications, but like certain like how people said, how they reacted.
Oh,
you know, like,
yeah.
Is there, you know, I'm very curious about that.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I just think the Korean church is a fun setting, you know, to
You're
have like a story.
You're like, yeah.
But, you know, it's also the fact that I grew up in the Korean church. So a lot of the stories that I have to tell are based in the Korean church. So, and part of making Meet Me at the Cross was me reclaiming my background in the Korean church too. Like growing up as a PK, I'm sure a lot of PKs would like relate, but I was so embarrassed of the fact that I was a PK, and I was like, I hated the fact that my dad would pick us up in a minivan that had like our church name all over it, right? And my friends would be like, oh, like, why does your car have Chinese letters? And it's like, you know, it's embarrassing, you know? And I never really shared that part of my identity with people at school. Yeah, I was, you know, really shy about that. And so for me to make something about this and like post on my main, you know, like social media stuff, and like to go around to all these people asking them to like support for this short film, it was like, no, you know what? My background in the Korean church was like is valid. You know, it was a part of me that I should not be ashamed of, and I'm gonna tell these stories, and they're meant for the big screen. You know, and you know, during that time there was like a huge wave for representation, but I didn't really feel represented by the stuff I was seeing. You know, like you know, there's a lot of great films, but I didn't feel like it captured what I experienced.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wanted to make something that felt like what I experienced, and that's kind of why it's set in the Korean church. And it was really cool. Like I got to like analyze the little nuances of my upbringing that I never realized were like different, I guess. Like the fact that the credits were in like the Korean English.
Dude, that was so sick.
Dude.
And it was like a kind of like a menu kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I
Well,
I was like, yo, that's crazy.
Well, yeah, the idea was like it's like a Korean English Bible. Like that's where the inspiration came from. And yeah, like that's stuff that I saw growing up, and I felt like, oh yeah, you know what, this is something that is unique to like an ethnic church background, right? And I would have wanted to hide it in the past, but no, let me embrace it. And this is the life God gave me. Let me just kind of put it all out there and show like I'm not ashamed of it anymore. Little, you know, yeah, and I loved it. Like little nuances of like the dad and the father, or the dad and the son not being able to communicate well because they're speaking different languages. And you know, like my favorite shot of the film is when they're in the cafeteria and we're zooming in on Rachel. And
I think that was Nathan's favorite shot, or Jen's.
Oh really? Yeah, no, but yeah, shout out to Dodge, by the way, if you're watching.
Yeah, Dodge, I love you. I don't know you, but
she's our cinematographer. She was awesome, and she was the one who pushed for us to do to shoot it on 16 millimeter.
Yeah. Yo, that was a great choice, bro.
For real, no.
I was like, yo, I feel like this, like, I don't know, it gives you like what's that, Scorsese or something?
Oh yeah.
That kind of vibe too. Hey, that's
a huge compliment. Thank you, dude. But yeah, I even told her, like, I didn't realize it yet, or back then, but looking at it now, it was like shooting that on 16 millimeter was so important for the film, because it actually felt like, you know, 16 millimeter is something you don't really see today.
Yeah.
You know, you just use digital, but it was like, yeah, like a Korean church, you know, this really traditional conservative like setting. You don't see that today, you know, and it's like really niche. And so it was like capturing this traditional setting through a traditional medium of like film, you know, organic film. And it felt right. It just felt right to have that on the screen, to like see all these imperfections and things like that. And yeah, I love film now. I'm like, I want to shoot the next one on film too.
Please do. Please do. Save 16 millimeter. No, I think what's so great about just not only what I would say the conviction, you know, of creating this passion project, if I will, to explain, is that I think just from this whole conversation, not only talking about Meet Me at the Cross and also your upbringing, how church influenced you as just your relation with God, with the altar call. I think what's so great about your level of directing and writing, because like I said, I watched like behind the scenes of you doing this. I can sense this immense like yearning to spread God's kingdom, and to spread God's kingdom is to share the most broken, you know, broken parts of whom we are.
For real though.
But God redeemed it all. You know, what does redemption look like? What does that even mean? Right? It's like, oh, that I'm clean. It's like, it doesn't matter how I see myself. And what matters how he sees me. You know, because like in my bedroom, there's like a beautiful painting I just got, and it was like God as a shepherd, and there's sheep's around, and there's like a tree, and I look at it, and it's like, man, like, God, you're my shepherd. You're my shepherd. Like this morning, I was like walking my dog, and I was just saying like, I must have looked like a crazy person walking my dog when people say me. I was like, Lord, you're my shepherd. you're a perfect Father.
Mm.
You're my Lord. You're my King. I'm not God.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept repeating that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think sometimes when frustration arises or anger even rises, it's because we allowed ourselves to be God. Or even flirt with that, like even with that, right?
Yeah, like I'm in control of my life.
Yeah.
Kind of like thinking that, you know, you can make your own destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
And that gives like that quick justice, right? That justice feeling is like, oh, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it does, in the long run, does it even give you the confidence to know that your relationship with God is depending on how much He does, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yet He created us as workmanship for heaven, and we're children of God. What does that even mean? And I think this film related so much the deeper parts of like even questions as Christians who are ethnic background as Korean American should ask themselves with their relation with God.
Yeah.
But I just want to thank you for not only being on here, but I just want to encourage you to just know that whatever plan for part 2, just hold on to the fact that God has already established your steps, just like what Proverbs says. And I hope to also encourage you that, man, like, I know this sounds cheesy, bro, but for some reason, like, part 2 or whatever film ideas you're having later on, like, God has good plans for you, man. God has really good plans for you. Just always remember to remind yourself and wake up. It's like, Lord, thank you for this day. Blessed be the name. It's like being like not only the physical posture, just like David when he prayed for covering, but it's like, I mean, I'm bowing down to you because not only I respect you as my king, but I bow down to you because from everything I have lost, I have everything to gain. You know? And I mean, he's the spring water to our life, man. You know?
That's right.
And man, like, I don't know, like, what God has in store for you, but I'm excited.
Thank you, bro. Bless you. Yeah. I can't say enough, like, just the fact that I'm being able to be here and, like, share my faith, share my story with you on this podcast. Because, you know, just this opportunity to talk with you, like, it's helped me like, remember, you know, like, my purpose and, like, remember the reason why I'm doing all this and the relationship that, you know, I had with God throughout this entire process of that production. And being able to look back, I'm like, man, God was really good to me, as you're saying. And I don't think I would have realized that if I wasn't, like, sitting here, actually. So, yeah, thank you for inviting me, bro. Like, you are such a gentle guide throughout all of this. But I do want to say, like, my heart with the film was to reach out to the lost sheep, the lost soul.
I can sense that.
Oh, man. Yeah. And
I really do, bro.
Thank
you.
Really. I just hope that, like, that we would continue to have that heart as a church, you know, to, like, reach out to that lost heart, that lost soul that is hurt by the church. Because I think there is a lot of that in this country. So really want to encourage, like, other Christians, like, just recognize that we as a church, we did hurt a lot of people, and that, you know, we should reach out to people who are hurt. And that, you know, like Christ said, you know, like, he came for the sick, not for the healthy, right? So,
that's a bar.
Yeah, it is. And Jesus said that. So, you know, if we are true followers of him, we would listen to that. And so, I think that's one thing I want to continue to live my life by. And I'm just blessed to be here. You know, without God's provision, I would not have been, like, sitting here with you today. But
I feel, is it cool we pray to end this, bro? I feel like
let's do it. Let's do it.
I'll pray over this. God, thank you so much for this conversation. We may not say everything perfectly, Lord, but let us accept that this is how the podcast episode should be. Thank you so much for allowing us to, giving us the words to describe whether it's our emotions, whether the process of David's film. Thank you so much for even dying on the cross.
Mm-hmm.
For we are not even worthy to be near your feet, near your hand. I pray for David and I. As we pray not to seek anything, but just to be at your presence.
Yes, God.
Because deep down, we live in a nation that has many lost souls. Many lost souls.
Mm-hmm.
And I pray for David's testimony and my testimony can reach to those who are lost in a loving, merciful way. But more importantly, I pray that we keep continuously seeking your kingdom and your will, Lord.
That's right, God.
Your will is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Your way is perfect.
Yes, God.
Your thoughts are higher than our thoughts. Your ways are better than our ways. Help us see how you see us, and we shall walk forth in the immense future you have for us. In Jesus' mighty name I pray.